The brutal assassin. In the city of Port Harcourt, Nigeria, where the nights often smelled of diesel and sweat, and the air carried both the weight of dreams and dread, lived a man named Godswill, Godson. Known for his sharp tongue, quick wits, and successful import business, Godson had built an empire that made friends envious and enemies resentful. But unknown to him, the enemies he had made were no longer content with gossip, curses, or sabotage. They wanted him dead. 15 of them. Some were old rivals from the university days, others were betrayed partners, criminal contractors, or even hired killers with no personal grudge, just paid hands. They called themselves the Hand of Justice, as if righteousness fueled their cause. But theirs was a plan dipped in darkness. The plan was simple: lure Godson to a business meeting outside the city, an abandoned warehouse in Lagos. There, the 15 assassins would converge. Each had a different role: sniper, strangler, poisoner, bludgeoner, and so on. Redundancy was the key. One of them must succeed if the others failed. But fate, chaotic, whimsical, absurd fate, had other plans. The first coincidence. Godson had received a call from Mr. Kelvin Iroha, claiming to be a big-time investor from Ghana. The voice was convincing, the offer juicy, a supply deal worth 300 million Nigerian nairas, all up front. The only condition was secrecy and a personal meeting in Lagos. Godson, cautious yet greedy, agreed. That morning, Godson left his home in his Lexus SUV, dressed in a sharp ash-colored senator wear, his gold wristwatch glinting in the sun. His personal driver was sick, so he decided to drive himself. As he reversed, his tire burst from a sharp metal lodged just beneath his rear tire. Irritated, he called his mechanic, who promised to arrive in 30 minutes. While waiting, his son, James, ran up and insisted he come inside to taste his mother's bitter leaf soup. Godson, a sucker for good soup, laughed and followed him inside. He stayed for 15 minutes. By the time his tire was changed and he resumed his trip, he was 47 minutes behind schedule. The first assassin, the sniper. At 10 a.m. sharp, the sniper had perched on the rooftop of the warehouse. He was a professional ex-military from South Africa. He had one job: shoot Godson as he stepped out of the car. At 10:47 a.m., a silver Lexus SUV pulled up. The sniper, impatient and sweating under the sun, cocked his rifle. But the man who stepped out was not Godson. It was a delivery guy, dropping off a package for a nearby factory. The sniper, rattled and confused, delayed. At 10:52, another Lexus arrived. He readied again, but the number plate was different. Godson's actual arrival was at 11:08 a.m., the sniper had already left, believing the mission had been compromised. He had a flight to catch. The second assassin, the poisoner. Inside the warehouse, a chilled bottle of table water sat on the dusty table. Poisoned. It contained a delayed reaction nerve agent that would collapse his lungs within 10 minutes of consumption. Godson entered, sat down, looked at the water, then chuckled. Chilled water in this abandoned place? No, I won't take this kind of water, he muttered. He reached into his bag and pulled out a sachet of pure water instead, which he had picked up from his house earlier. He didn't touch the bottle. The poisoner, watching from a hidden camera feed, punched the table in rage. The third assassin, the silent knife. From the shadows, Assassin 3, a mute, agile killer, waited behind the curtain. His role: slit Tobe's throat from behind once he sat for more than 10 seconds. But just before he emerged, a rat scurried over his foot. Startled, he lost balance and knocked over a can. The sound echoed. Godson, spooked, stood up and called out, "Who is there?" Getting no reply, he walked outside to call Kelvin. That's when he realized the number was now switched off. He felt his stomach twist. The fourth coincidence. As Godson paced, wondering whether to call the police, a loud explosion rocked the air. Not from the warehouse, but from the nearby Niger Delta gas plant. A minor gas flare incident. Panic spread. Factory workers ran. People screamed. Sirens echoed in the distance. Godson, fearing a terrorist attack or police raid, jumped into his car and sped off. The remaining assassins, hidden nearby, were scattered by the chaos, unable to regroup. The backup plan. By 1 p.m., the failed team sent a message to the rest waiting along the route: Godson is fleeing. Intercept him at Alessa Junction. Assassin 4, disguised as a hawker, was ready with a grenade hidden in his tray of boiled groundnuts. He would hurl it once Godson's car approached. But guess what? As Godson drove, he received a call from his old friend who was stuck on the road and needed help, just after Alessa Junction. On impulse, Godson decided to reroute through a rougher, longer path via Okirika, avoiding the ambush entirely. The hawker waited for 3 hours. No Lexus came. Assassin 5, the seductress. Meanwhile, another assassin waited at Godson's favorite bar in GRE, Madame Florence, a curvy beauty laced with perfume and venomous intentions. Her mission was to charm Godson, spike his drink, and lure him to a hotel where 3 more would finish the job. Godson did stop at the bar on his way back, but only to use the restroom. As he entered, Florence approached with her killer smile. But he waved her off. "Madam, please, I am not drinking today. I just want to use the restroom. I'm having running stomach." Within 5 minutes, he was gone. She sat back, stunned. Coincidence 7, the faulty fuel. After several dodged deaths, Godson was finally heading home. But his car began to sputter. He had mistakenly filled bad fuel from a small station in Lagos. The car died near a mechanic's shop at Remulla, delaying him another hour. During that time, the assassins tracking him via his license plate lost him completely. They had a tracker at Garrison Junction, waiting for him to pass. He never did. Assassin 12, the ritualist. One of the deadliest of the group was not a killer in the conventional sense. He believed in dark powers, sacrifices, chants, curses. He had buried charms, bathed in goat blood, and offered cola nuts to the gods of vengeance. That afternoon, he began his final ritual, calling down death on Godson. But as he began the incantation, a police patrol busted his shrine, a routine raid on illegal gatherings. The priest was arrested, along with his charms, before he could finish the chant. He cursed in his cell till nightfall. Assassin 13, the decoy driver. Back at home, Godson's real driver had recovered and offered to take him to a meeting scheduled in the evening. Unbelievable to him, that driver had been replaced, killed and buried by Assassin 13, who now wore his uniform and ID. Godson opened the car door but suddenly paused. "You cut your hair." The assassin froze. "My driver don't carry bald head." "What is this?" Godson slammed the door shut and ran inside, screaming for his security. The fake driver drove off into the night, disappearing forever. The final 3. The remaining assassins, 14 and 15, were positioned outside Godson's estate. They had scoped out the security routines. One would cut the light, the other would jump the fence and inject him while he slept. But the night it was planned, heavy rains fell. Thunder. Floods. The estate's transformer exploded, plunging everything into chaos. Security was doubled. The assassins never got a clean window. The operation was aborted. The aftermath. The following morning, Godson sat in his living room, completely unaware of the dance of death he had survived. His only real suspicion was that something felt off about the Lagos meeting. Then the call came. An anonymous voice whispered, "You were supposed to die yesterday." Godson's chest tightened. He tried to trace the number, nothing. By the end of that week, 8 of the assassins were arrested through a combination of surveillance, intercepted calls, and pure luck. The others vanished into the wind. Epilogue. Godson disappeared for 6 months. Some say he went to a monastery in Enugu. Others say he visited a seer in Ghana who told him he had 7 lives left. When he finally returned to the public eye, he looked thinner, humbler, and always wore white. He closed down several businesses, started a foundation for ex-convicts, and never, ever, drove alone again. Till this day, people whisper about him. The man who survived 15 assassins, by pure coincidence. Some of us don't know the death we have escaped. Always be thankful to God.
Like and share this video and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories like this.